Welcome back to my regular viewers and welcome to the channel if you're a new one. We start this video off in Bloomsbury, New Jersey in November of 2017. This video is the first of a special series that I'm doing exclusively for the November month to highlight the beautiful colors of the fall season. In this series, I'll be showcasing trains that were shot over the years in the months of October and November. But don't confuse this series with my time capsule series. That's a completely different animal. The time capsule videos are a straight line from 2014, just before NS took over the Sunbury line, to whenever Union Pacific takes over. I know that I haven't talked about that yet, but rest assured that there's a video in the pipeline on that subject. What also makes this series different is that for once, I'm actually going to finish it and you won't have to wait 5 years for me to do it either. That's one of my upcoming New Year's Day resolutions, to finish everything that I started with this channel and in a reasonable time frame, so no more unfinished videos. I promise. We're now back in the state of Pennsylvania, and that road down there reaches into the Clark Summit and the Endless Mountains region. Panning to the east, we see Kaiser Avenue, the Kaiser Valley, and the swath left by the Reading and Northern's Kaiser Valley Industrial Tract. This area was once occupied by the Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western, and was home to some of their locomotive shops. Looking back to the last winter, we see the turnout and spur track to the 7D Lumberyard. If you've been following this channel for any length of time, then you might remember that 7D Lumber used to be located in downtown Scranton. In 2016, they moved to the location that you see here, and although you can't tell from this particular vantage point, there's a freight door for unloading boxcars and a concrete skid for unloading flat cars, including center beams. I took that shot while filming for my Christmas video that I did during the time. That train down there is the Reading and Northern Back Valley job, aka the PISB. By now it's heading back to their yard in Pittston, technically making this train the SBPI. And if you look ever so closely, you can see the engineer exiting the north-facing engine and making his way back to the south-facing engine on the other end. Seeing this top and tail operation is rare on this track. In fact, this is the first time that I've ever seen it on this track. It's Sunday, October 26, 2025, and this crew has just finished working the giant cane warehouse. With all of that said, sit back and enjoy part 1 of Freight Trains in the Fall Season. In the spirit of the Reading and Northern top and tail train that we just saw, here's some B-roll footage shot in November of 2023. This is the Train 14R. 2023, just like 2018, was a very colorful year for the Norfolk Southern and its train watching communities as leased and second-hand locomotives paraded around its system. This train was prominently featured in the video T521, DPUs, Helpers, and Push-Pull Explained. I'll put a link to that video in the description box, just in case you missed it. This is the Enola, Pennsylvania to Binghamton, New York train H60, and it came up the line on October 28, 2025. This oversized beast is almost 12,000 feet long, 11,817 to be exact. This train has 56 loads and 73 empties, and it's almost 11,000 tons. This train had locomotive problems almost out of the gate. The lead GEVO number 7664 was having problems, so the second lead unit number 3648 had to be turned on. By the time the train came past us here at Lackawanna Avenue, the trailing DPU number 4383 had run out of fuel and was non-operational. According to the engineer, the lead DPU number 8045 was also not operating, possibly because of telemetry problems. Temperatures that rise and fall like the sun. Bare trees that tremble in the breeze. Low clouds that stretch on forever. November in northeastern Pennsylvania is a teaser, a stark, chilling reminder of the bleak and shivery winter days to come. Just minutes before I started recording this scene, the clouds were like cotton and the sky was a soft shade of blue. Then the stratus clouds set in from the west and hid the valley from the sun. Today it's November 3rd, 2025, and that train that's coming down the line is the newly minted Binghamton, New York to Enola, Pennsylvania train 13Z. The 13Z now replaces the H61, which replaced the 11Z, which replaced the 11R. Who can keep up? At 8,809 feet, today's train is a big one. 70 intermodal buckets and 82 general freight cars totaling 152 individual units by my count, 96 by Norfolk Southerns as they count the articulated car sets as one car. One of the biggest of these Bingo to Enola southbounds that I've seen in a long time, this train isn't just lengthy, it's a beefy one weighing in at a scale-tipping 13,708 tons. Quite the duty for the two lone AC Gevos providing the pulling power. You'll be getting a better look at this train in just a few minutes, so stay tuned. The very next day, on November 4, 2025, the sister train to the newly minted 13Z, the newly minted 14Z, came up with a very interesting manifest. The first boxcar is lettered KLRX, which is the Coke Rail Company, a new one to me. The second and third flat cars are transformers of some type going somewhere. The fourth flat car, loaded with sheet steel, looks like something that would have come up on the former 37T out of Allentown, Pennsylvania, and came back down on the former 10A train to Northumberland, PA. In Norrie, this car would have been picked up by the Lycoming Valley Railroad on a train such as their LVRR-1, where it would be delivered to high steel structures in Newberry. I had hoped to put the drone into the air to capture the sunshiny cheeriness of today's Scranton landscape, but as you can see for yourself, it's an extremely violently windy day as shown by the camera shake. And lest I have to remind you what happened the last time I put my drone in the air in a violent wind. Interesting to me was the mid-train DPU, despite this being a relatively short train, which suggests that the 12Z train, which this train likely succeeded, had a big head-in set-out in Enola. The other intriguing facet of this train is the large cut of Canadian boxcars lettered for the Canadian Pacific, the Canadian National, the Kansas City Southern, and others. If you've been paying attention to the global politics of the day, then you may know that there's an ongoing trade dispute between the US and Canada, and President Trump ended talks with Canada a few weeks ago as I make this video. It's because of this trade dispute that Sunbury Line trains are more often than not extremely underwhelming compared to what they used to be in the past. And seeing big blocks of Canadian rolling stock, especially moving south like this, given the tariffs currently on Canadian products, is rare. This is what I was talking about when I made reference to that 8,809-foot 13Z that we just saw a few trains back. Here's that same train, 13Z03, from a different angle to highlight two unique locomotives in the consist, the SD40-2 and the GP38-2, two of the best-selling diesel locomotives in history. The 3329 is the class unit of the ex-Conrail SD40-2 locomotives on the Norfolk Southern that was built in 1977. It was originally numbered as Conrail 6358 and was initially painted in Norfolk Southern black on July 24, 2002. Conrail SD40s on Norfolk Southern are easily identifiable by their flexi-coil trucks. I did a deep dive into the SD40 and its many variants, including the GP40 and related Dash 2s in video T335. I'll leave a link to that video in the description box below as well, just in case you missed it. The 5322 is an extraordinary GP38-2, also an ex-Conrail unit. This battle-hardened survivor is also an ex-Penn Central locomotive, one of the many on that former railroad and one of the few former Penn Central locomotives still earning their keep on the Norfolk Southern. 5322 was built over 50 years ago in March of 1973 as the PC number 8167. It traded in PC black paint for Conrail blue, donning the same road number. It was repainted back into black, this time for the Norfolk Southern, on February 10, 2000. Like the SD40 locomotives, I did a deep dive into the 38 series diesels in video T482. I'll leave a link to that video in the description box, just in case you missed it. As you watch this train roll by, pay attention to the wood, aluminum, and Canadian National boxcars. Keep in mind that this is November 3rd, 2025, after Trump canceled trade talks with Canada. Also keep in mind that for the time being anyway, it's the trash containers and locomotives that give most Sunbury Line trains their dimension and personality and make most of them worth watching nowadays. This is not the end of this conversation. It's only the beginning. So stay tuned. If you like this video, please hit the like button because it helps get it out to other people. If you're not a subscriber, I welcome you to become a subscriber today. And if you have something to say that can add to the conversation, drop it in the comments below. We'll talk more about the state of Canadian commerce on Sunbury Line trains in the video Trade Tariff Trains, coming soon. And it won't take 3 years. I promise.